busy schedule to show up and hang out with us. You could be anywhere doing anything. However, you are hanging with Carla and her guest panelist here at the podcast. I'm my sister's keeper. As you guys are aware, once again, my name is Carla. I'm the founder and the host of this podcast. This podcast was created so that women would have a safe space to discuss everyday issues that affect our well being while keeping shit real, raw, and uncut. This evening, I have my sister girlfriends in the building. I have Empress Liz, who is an ordained minister, an herbalist, and a health coach. Woo! And also,
every woman.
I have Dr. Yolanda Bennett,
I salute
has been in the
you
educational field for well over 20 years. And so this evening, we are bringing our talent together to discuss what reinventing yourself looks like. What does that look like? Over the last several weeks since the conference, and shout out to all my panelists who showed up for my 2-day women's conference. It was fantastic. We're looking to do something bigger and better next year. We haven't really finalized the spot. We were thinking somewhere in New Jersey, but it might be in Arizona, Texas. Not quite sure yet, but it's going to be fantastic. And you guys just hold on tight because additional details to follow in the months to come. However, back to business. I have my sister girlfriends in the building, and I've received tons of information regarding reinventing yourself from the age group of women over 50 years, right?
Oh.
I have lots of questions regarding school. And so we have the specialist, Dr. Bennett, in the building. Tons of questions for Liz regarding health, stress, depression, anxiety. How do I move forward when I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel? And so they're back in the building. We're going to discuss some things that we've done just to move forward. And so, ladies, are you ready?
We are ready.
We are ready.
Empress Liz.
Yes, I am.
I want you to start off. I have a lot of questions regarding anxiety, stress. I hate my job. But I'm not eating healthy either. I'm not cooking meals. I'm hanging out at McDonald's. I wasn't supposed to say that. I'm hanging out at the M Place. I'm at the chicken spot that starts with the P. I'm eating dinner in the parking lot. I'm eating dinner in the parking lot because I don't necessarily want to go home to my significant other who is supposed to be my husband, but that's what's on paper. But that's not really what's happening. Yes. It's all here. So where do they start? Reinventing yourself. What does that mean to you? First, give me the definition of what does reinventing yourself look like for you? And also kind of keep it small, right? Because we don't want to make it so large where it doesn't seem obtainable.
Exactly, because it's all about small changes. Well, first of all, I salute you all with the honorable words of grace, peace, mercy, truth, and love. May it be multiplied upon you all. I am grateful to be here first and foremost, but I'm glad that you put it quite that way, right? Because the thing that we understand, those of us that are health coaches in integrative nutrition, we understand that all of it is in concert with one another. So if you're not eating right because you're stressed out, oftentimes a lot of that is because we put this unrealistic pressure on ourselves. Now, I'm not going to get into the relationship aspect just yet because we have to identify oneself and what one needs, and we have to sit with ourselves. You hear me say that a lot. You got to sit with yourself. We can't seek happiness in someone else or outwardly of ourselves. It usually doesn't work for long, right? So when we start talking about anxiety, we got to start looking at triggers. We have to start looking at what is it that triggers you to make you feel this sense of being overwhelmed. Is it something that, like you said, to do with your significant other, your home situation? Is it triggered by your job? Those are the kind of things that we need to identify. So when we're talking in the realm of health and natural living, right? Usually we encourage people to write down what they've eaten, right? You say, hey, Liz, you know what? I've been nauseous for the last 3 days. I don't know what's been going on. The first thing that I'm going to ask you is, well, what did you eat? So the same thing pretty much applies. If you find yourself waking up with this sense of dread or this sense of foreboding, and it has to do with your work situation, then there are certain things that I know for me, when I've ever felt in a situation where I didn't want to go to work, we're going to chop that up a little bit first. I would always hit that hard reset. I would, just like I always say, I would tap into my motivation for being there, right? We got to pay bills, etc. We may have that little side job while we're going to school. We may be, trying to gain those credentials that'll get us that better job. You have to tap into your motivation for being where you are. But in order to do that, you have to sit with yourself. You have to figure out, okay, hey, wait a minute, this is getting to be too much. Let me try to analyze what's going on. Now, a lot of us are probably saying, hey, that's not really easy. Where do I even start with that?
Yeah, I don't mean to cut you off, but sit with myself. What does that mean? For those who don't know what that means, unpack that for us.
Right. So when I say sit with yourself, I guess for me, what it means is to really just sit quiet with me. Now, me sitting with myself doesn't necessarily mean that I'm by myself, because I'm hearing right now as we're talking, the mother of 5 children that has a lot going on. She has children that are 9, 10, 11, 14, and 6, right? Has to cook, get them ready. That was me at one point. And one thing I always made sure to do was to take that moment for myself while all of that was going on. One of the things that, for any people that practice yoga and meditative arts and meditative things, one thing you come to learn and understand is that you could be in a crowded situation and sit with yourself and be at peace with yourself and centered. And it's crucial. What kept me on that page was the fact that if anything ever happened to me, what would happen to them? That was always at the forefront of my mind. So, I like I said, I say that, I say all of that to say that yes, you have to sit with yourself. You have to, if you find yourself constantly aggravated, what is it that's aggravating you? Sometimes we can say, I don't know, I just feel aggravated. So when you get to that place of, well, I really don't know, but I'm feeling aggravated, you got to kind of sit with yourself. What made you feel that way? Did you wake up feeling that way? Again, for me, it's all about prayer and meditation. It's about taking that time. It could be an extra 15 minutes. When I tell you I did it, because again, just like I said before, I'm thinking about the mother or the parent, I should say, of children that has to get them ready for school, get yourself ready for work. There's a way. Like I said, it was kind of crazy for me for a while, needless to say. But again, one of the things that stayed at the forefront of my mind is if something happens to me, what's going to happen to them? So I made it a point to take some quiet time for myself. And again, it's about time management. It's about multitasking. And I always say that to people. They're like, oh my goodness, I have one. That's a lot. How would I deal with more than 2 or 3 children? How do you do it? And I always said, I multitask at work. I multitask at home. It's about knowing how to efficiently and effectively multitask.
You know what, Liz, I wanted to ask you a question. I'm going to piggyback off of that just with this question. Because I agree wholeheartedly with you. You do have to get to a point where you have to be quiet and you have to be centered. You most definitely have to do that. But one of the things that I also learned, I would say, like really in my 30s and my 40s, especially in my 40s, one of the things that I had to come to terms with is that I needed to get over myself.
Oh.
And so,
what does that? Get over yourself. Keep it real.
Because
keep it real,
y'all.
Right, because you know what? You can be centered and you could do all that, and that's
Right.
great. I
Right.
believe in that. And I had to get centered just the other day for myself because I was going through some crazy stuff.
Right.
But one of the things that I really, really had to learn is that, sometimes it just ain't that important. And guess what?
True.
Sometimes you ain't just that important. So
Right.
it's like
Right.
there's
And
so many other things that could be going on
exactly.
that,
Right.
and you focused on this one little crazy aspect of
Mhm.
your life that
Right.
really is causing more harm than good. And you're
Mhm.
going over it and over it because it ain't the way you would want it, or it's not the way you want it to feel. You
Mhm.
know, sisters, get over yourself. It ain't all that. It
That
ain't
part.
all.
But I think for me too, it's so funny that you said that because for me, it was always, as a mother, for me, it was always about them. Like my hustle, my grind was with them and for them. Like
Right.
that's just what it did for me. So like I know Carla, we talked before we actually came on, and you did kind of dig in a little bit about how I did it as a parent with, trying to co-parent with someone that was traveling the world, that was, that level of, music and, what that looked like. And just, it wasn't always easy, but
Yeah, but
again,
you had a tribe. But you had a tribe of people that helped
And
you.
guess what?
that's
I
And
was
you
right.
got
one.
over
You
yourself
had a
too.
tribe of people that helped you. And
I
so even
certainly
though
did.
it was tough, you still weren't in the
Right.
battlefield by yourself.
That's for sure.
Mhm.
Because I know your behind was right there. My sister
I was right
Cassandra
there.
was there. My mother, first and foremost.
I taught
My
your oldest son
nieces.
his first word. I
You
taught your
certainly
oldest son
did.
his first
I'm
word.
gonna make sure I tell him that you brought that up tonight too. He's gonna love it.
So,
I will.
and tell him I
And what
love
did
him
you call
too.
him again?
Stinky.
What did you, yeah, that too.
Yeah, my baby Stinky. My baby Stinky. That was my baby
That's
Stinky. And
right.
I taught him
And
his
your
first
baby
word.
Stinky is like 6'2" now. He's a big old, yeah, he big.
It's
So
unbelievable. It's because it just kind of
mm,
seems like it was yesterday. But
it does.
when I met you, I understood your hustle, and I thought, wow, she's really fantastic. She's phenomenal,
Thanks.
and I
Thanks,
knew
sis. I
that
appreciate that.
from how you carried yourself, you were definitely someone that I wanted to surround myself with because every
Wow.
time I was around you, you taught me something. You
I
really did.
appreciate that.
It,
Thank
it was
you.
just it was just all in your character because you're well spoken, you're very smart, you're
Mhm.
crazy
I
witty.
appreciate that. Or goofy, depending on who you
And
asking.
anytime I need to slip you a paper, some type of document, I could text you, email you, and within 5 minutes you have proofread it and gave me the thumbs up on it. So you were always extremely resourceful and just helpful. And so
I
you were the type
appreciate
of person that I wanted to hang out with when I moved from Brooklyn. Shout out to everybody in Brooklyn.
it. In the beacon.
When I moved from Brooklyn to New Jersey,
Yeah.
we lived in a very secluded area, very nice, ritzy
Yeah.
area. It
That
really
used to
wasn't
be the
what
hood, let's be clear.
it used to be.
When I was growing up, it was the hood. We wasn't living
Yeah,
down there, but we had a beautiful opportunity because it was pretty and sparkly and new and cool, right?
it was nice. And
Mhm.
so, I didn't really know anyone when I moved over
Right.
to New Jersey, and then I met
We
you, and I
had our
thought,
little
wow,
crew though. Yeah,
yeah,
we
we
had our
did.
little
So
crew.
I thought, wow. So
Shout
that
out
was
to
one of the
Empress
reasons
Sundara.
why I
Mhm.
extended a helping hand to you because you were just so extremely helpful and you were a good
I
person.
appreciate
And
that.
it was a
I
safe
really
space
do.
to be around you. But uh, Dr. Bennett,
Yes.
reinventing oneself, what does that mean to you?
Well, it means a lot to me. I'm with Liz too in terms of, figuring out what I want to do and going for it and getting centered. I think that's key. Every time I think about that, I think about how I had to make some plans for myself. Some of them were small, some of them were large, but I had to sit down and really think about what is it that I really, really wanted to do. And
Right.
then I had to, one, pray on a lot of things that
Always. Right. If you can
right,
make it
that was
plain.
coming into play. Is this something that I'm supposed to be doing? Is this something that, God wants me to do? Am I
Yeah.
going to be pleasing
Yes.
in his
Mm-hmm.
eyesight if I do
Indeed.
these things? And so those are the things, that's just on my basic level. But I think more importantly, I just want to give an example. When we talk about reinventing ourselves, it doesn't always mean that you have to find a new job. It doesn't always mean that. It doesn't always mean that you have to take what you have and flip it inside out. It doesn't always mean
Okay.
that. Sometimes it just means that taking that chaos and all of that crazy negativity and sometimes the people that you are around, and kind of divorcing that situation,
Yep.
getting that out of your life, and start really thinking about what's going to make you happy, what creates peace in your life, and where do you want to see yourself in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and really, really taking the time to focus on that.
Exactly.
That's what reinventing yourself. The thing that I did, my big thing that I
Yep.
did last year, and I'm coming up on a year, is I joined a sorority at this
Well,
age.
you said that.
Now, see,
It's
that's something
awesome.
that I did not know. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yes, you didn't know that.
No, ma'am, I did not.
Yeah,
And it's
I
funny that, go ahead.
I pledged a sorority last year
All right,
and went
girl.
online, and I am a Gamma Phi Delta sorority
All right,
chick,
girl.
soror.
Well, I
Nice.
picked up the piano again.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know
Mhm.
that. Okay.
You
Yeah.
did?
Yeah.
No.
Yes. Yes, and I think and that was important to me because I knew as an undergrad I really wanted to do it, but some of the opportunities did not present itself. And then when I
Right.
started at grad level, I wanted to do it, but I didn't. I wanted to do it for the right reasons. And
Mm.
so then when children and husbands and life starts
Stuff,
hitting,
life stuff. Yeah.
right,
Big stuff.
that's not a priority. It's just not a
Right.
priority.
You don't have time for
So
that.
once my kids are gone, I'm a grandmother. Yay,
Yes,
I'm a
you are.
nana.
Yes.
And and
I'm the
so
same thing.
I said, why not? And this is the reinventing yourself. I said,
Right.
why can't I do that? How come I
Exactly.
can't do that? This is something that I've always wanted to do. Who's to say I cannot pledge? And this girl went ahead, got, some information, had a friend of mine who had also pledged at the grad level, and she asked me to come to an informational, and I did. And I started doing my homework and, checking out this sorority and looking at the history and everything.
Nice.
And what sold me is the fact that, it was founded in Detroit, Michigan in
Oh,
Well,
shout out
1948.
to everybody in the
wow.
D. Shout out to everybody in the D.
No,
Yeah.
February 28th,
Wow.
1948. Right. And it was two African American women who started Lewis Business College. And so
Wow.
they started it. And so I said, you know what? This is confirmation for me. I don't know about
Mhm.
anybody else, it was
Yep.
confirmation for me. And so I went ahead and pursued it. And I have not looked back since. And that was a part of something that I've always wanted to do, and I went
Right.
for it. And I thought about it. I didn't just jump out there. I actually did my homework, got all my research and everything, and I went for it. So reinventing yourself doesn't always have to be a job. It doesn't always have to be going back to school, even though those
Right.
things are so important. But
Right.
think about where your heart is and what you really want to accomplish in your life. And not only that, what do you want your name on when you leave this
Right.
world?
That was
Exactly.
deep. Yeah,
What's your
that was
stamp?
powerful.
Your
Exactly.
brand,
And
you know?
when we were talking about, when Carla first approached me about talking about reinventing oneself, it's also perpetual in a way. We think reinvention, like you said, is this grandiose thing. A lot of times it could just be small little things. And I know, like
Mhm.
I said, in the world of being a health coach and an herbalist, one of the things that
Yeah.
we always encourage is small changes bring large improvement. A lot of times you hear life coaches say, achievable goals, but it's really the truth. I mean, you really have to center yourself, sit down, take, and
Yeah.
one of the things that I also say is like, even with the, because it sounds so cliche a lot of the times you say center yourself and blah, blah, and people are
Right.
like, yeah, you're not in my house. You're not in my vibes that you could say that. It's easy for you to say it. But again, those small snippets of time, I think sometimes we perceive this time that you take for yourself again as these large stretches of time.
Right.
Again, during COVID, especially as I say, my during COVID job, it wasn't the work that I normally do, but I really used that as a time to be resourceful with
Mm.
my time. We say to
Mhm.
my daughter,
Mhm.
and as she's a mom, and I say, I am trying to show you what my mother couldn't show me. My mother's a phenomenal woman. Talk about reinventing herself. She's going to be 88. This woman, like I said, she's on social media. She texts, she FaceTimes, she walks her dog. Like, she's my shero. But the thing is that she didn't raise 5 children, even though she was dropping them off and picking them up. Thank you
Right.
for your help. She didn't have that dynamic in her life because she was able to be home with us until I was 10. So I say to my daughter constantly, listen, I can show you things about time management that grandma couldn't show me. And
Right.
you can take small pockets of time and get so much done. Like I said, I would get up an extra half an hour and I would leave that house with breakfast and lunch that I
Mm.
made, that I didn't have to spend extra money. People would be looking at my food saying, well, where'd you get that from? Yeah, my parfaits. So it's where you can shout
You're
out to Select
crazy.
Express, all the Select Express heads and the former ones like me. But anyway, in any instance, it really showed me that 15 minutes, when used properly, you can get a lot of things done. I
Oh,
know,
yes.
like I said, I'm on the road. So yes, my dynamic is a lot different because it's just me. But I still make sure I'm up. I try to get up at 5. I give thanks for being able to be awakened even, and I take that time. And even if you have small children, I know people, like I said, I've been there and I nursed all my children. So for all you mothers out there that are like, well,
I
I
love
breastfeed
you.
my baby, they're eating every out. No, they came into your world, and we have to be resourceful with our time, and we have to program them just like, well, actually, in opposite of, but in the sense of the way that they're going to be programmed when they go to school. They become programmed when they go to school, right?
You do.
You got to
Mm-hmm.
get them there by what, 8:30,
Right.
8:30.
Mm-hmm.
Sit in your seat till it's time to take your nap. And I'm just saying, sis, you right, that's your lane.
I think
It's the same approach.
I think
Yeah.
it's very important, like you said earlier in the conversation, that you take time to sit with yourself. Because if you don't have an idea what moving forward looks like for you, I can't help you.
Right.
Dr. Betty
Right.
can't help you.
No.
Minister Herbalist Liz can't help you. What is it that you want? What changes do you want to see in your life? Reinventing yourself doesn't have to be a major overhaul. It does not.
It can be a
It could be
reinvention of thought.
removing some vices that are around you that are
Right.
no longer wanted in your environment. If you're
Mm-hmm.
seeking an environment of peace, love, and harmony, you know exactly who you need to not be around to do that. And with all of the questions that I have from the viewers, we have a lot of folks who mentioned that some of their worst enemies are those that they call their significant others, and that's horrific.
Sorry to hear that.
That's really, really horrific. And so, with that being said, what does tomorrow look like for you as an individual? What does it look like? What small steps do you have to take to have a better tomorrow? Because I do not want to live in a house with someone who is my worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say
That
something
that's
like that.
that's heavy. That's
It
heavy.
is.
It
Yeah,
is,
that's
and it's
heavy.
sad. I wanted to reflect back on something Dr. Bennett said when you were talking about divorcing yourself from certain people. And I started thinking divorcing yourself from thought, because again, all of it starts here in the mind. We sometimes, I come across a lot of people, like I said, that, may seek my perception on things. I don't want to say seeking my advice or whatever, but they may seek my perception on a thing.
Yep.
And you can always know when someone really wants to hear what you truly have to say and not hear what you think they want you to say, is their reaction when you first start talking. If people begin, and this is in any realm, whether it be
absolutely, yep,
herbalist and health coach, as a minister, as a mom, as a friend, as a sister, if you are saying to me, listen, I'm not feeling that vibration anymore, I need to, whatever that situation is, and you're coming to me, because see, I'm the kind of person, I'm not going to complain about it. When I start complaining about it, you better know I'm about to change a thing, because a lot of times I like to sit with it. You ever have someone mention something that's really, they may think it's a problem, but they kind of work it out. But after they mention it to you, it becomes this thing that's still kind of in the air. So I don't like things in the air. So I try to oftentimes kind of sit with it before it, I get to a place of maybe sharing it and in a complaining kind of way. Right.
Yeah.
But when someone says to me, like someone, especially that I love and value their opinion, says to me, well, that was kind of jacked up, or you really need to not blah, blah, then I'm going to, I look at that. I really try to take a look at it. But if someone becomes resistant, that's when I silence myself. Because
absolutely,
I'm not going to tell you something that you want to hear if you are someone that I'm concerned for, or someone that's seeking my. Now, that's not to say that I won't be gentle when expressing, because you don't want to offend anyone. But a lot of times, people are not ready to.
They're not ready for the truth. They're not ready for it. They're not ready for it.
It starts with the mind. It starts with the mind. It starts with the mind. And like I said, I always say this to your listeners, your viewers. I applaud you all that write in and say, I'm not happy. I want to do something different. Because by you doing that, that knowing is part of you putting one foot
absolutely
forward. And you really just have to kind of, as we say, keep that same energy if you truly want change. It's not going to ever really be easy, but
you know what also too, Liz?
I'm sorry.
No, you know what too, Liz, is sometimes you can't always tell everybody your plan. Because everybody is not going to receive it in the same way in which the energy that you have.
Some people don't want to see you receive
some people don't. Absolutely. Some people don't. And I think you have to be careful of that, even in your own household. It could be a situation where it's not that the person is not supportive. Maybe they don't understand, or maybe, they feel as though it's going to change the status quo within the house. And so they're very nervous about that. So sometimes you have to take that into consideration, but it should never be a point where you then kill your dream or your time because this person is uncomfortable. I mean, and sometimes it's just a mere conversation. This is what I want to do. This is what I've been feeling like. And I can't let this go, and I have to do it. And sometimes there has to be adjustments made in your household so that everybody can be accommodated, but you don't give up what you're trying to achieve because other people are so uncomfortable. Because really, they're not uncomfortable. They just don't want to change because you're changing. You know what I'm saying? You're not asking everybody to do things that they can't do. Maybe dinner is not going to be ready at 4:00. Maybe it's going to be ready at 6:00 because I got to do this.
Sometimes change is unsettling, and folks don't really know what the outcome of your change will look like. and
But
how
that's
that
when
will
you
affect
gotta
them.
trust. You gotta
Yep.
trust the person
Yep.
who is going forward in their life. They're
Yep.
not trying to move, and that's the sad part about it. And I know this happens in relationships. It certainly happens in marriages. You have to trust the fact that this person is not going to move without you. 9 times out of 10, they want to move with you and they want you to move with them. But if you're going to continuously be a naysayer
Yeah.
on every single thing, then
And
that
that,
person is going to move forward and you are going to get left
and
behind.
I'm gonna, yeah, you are right
And
about
so,
that.
that's something
Mhm.
that's very, very real. So, once again, it's a conversation that needs to be had. But
Right.
bring it to the table and let everybody know, hey, this is my time. I mean, I've had the same conversation with my own husband. My husband's like, he don't care. Whatever I want to do it, do
Happy
it.
wife, happy life.
Right, do it. But certain things, and I've done some crazy things, and he's like,
Right.
I don't know about that one, but if you want to do that, so but I understand, but I could look at him and tell, yeah, well, maybe we need to talk a little bit more about this one. But he's
Right.
never said, nah, we not doing that because this is gonna mess up what I got going. None of that. That should never ever be. It should
Ever.
always be a space for the
For good.
conversation. Because
Right.
there were times where he said things to me, that I didn't even think about. And I'm like, ooh, let me regroup on that because that's a very real situation. So
Right.
that's why the conversation needs to be had. And I really feel for anybody that's in a situation where you don't have the support or even to be able to have that communication because
Right.
it's necessary. It really is.
It
You know
is.
what's interesting, ladies, is no matter what our topic is, it always somehow we get relationship questions
Right.
Only
that are
relative. I
sent to
mean,
us pertaining
right.
the topic that we're discussing. One of
Right.
the questions that I received was, Dr. Bennett, you had mentioned before on previous episodes that you were married. Um, Amanda from Toronto.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
shout out
favorite
to
city.
Amanda from Toronto.
I
She
know
wants to know,
Toronto.
how
Yeah.
long have you been married? And
Mm.
because this is a safe space, was it always easy? Oh, you laugh. Okay.
Okay, for Amanda in Toronto, I love Toronto. I haven't been back in years. Can't wait to go again. Love Toronto.
Yeah, so do I.
I have been married over 35 years.
God bless you, girl.
I got married in 1987.
Yep.
Right. So is that 35? Y'all do the math for me because I can't.
I
It's been
just
a
said,
long time. It's been a
Do
long
the math
time.
for me. I don't want to say something.
35 years ago.
It's been a
Yeah.
long time. It's been
Okay,
a
do the math for
long
me because I'm
time.
like, you
Yeah, I
It's been
after
a
a while
long
you stop
time.
counting. You stop counting. I can tell you the year I got married, 1987. I was a child bride. So,
Yeah, it's been a
You
long
shall
time.
stay together.
right, it's been a long time. So was
That's
it
beautiful.
easy? Let me tell you something. There is nothing easy about being married and being married that long of a time. You have to understand, we got married when we were in our 20s. I was barely in my 20s. I was only 21 years old. Would not recommend that today because, folks are different today.
Yeah.
But, we were in our 20s. And so we were both trying to figure this thing called life out, working on careers and stuff. I was in my senior year of college, believe it or not, undergrad. He had graduated. My
I remember
husband
that.
is, right, you do
I
remember that.
remember.
My husband is 7 years older than me. So that was a big thing too. That was a very big thing.
That is
Yeah.
a huge thing.
Yes, it really
That
was.
was a
So
big deal.
My father was 8 years older than me. So yeah.
right. So it's
Yeah,
it's
that
a
was a
big
big deal.
thing. So
Mm.
I think that, with all of the growing pains of also having to mature on both of our ends, marriage is like this, and someone told me this many, many years ago. There are going to be good years, there are going to be bad
Mhm.
years, there are going to
Yeah.
be bad months, bad days. All of that stuff exists. I think I could write a chapter on, You know, good times, bad times. We all can if you've been married that long. So there have been some days when I'm like, let me pack my bags because
Shut up.
it ain't working for me. You know, I'm being real. It ain't working for me. You know, but with my husband probably would strangle me for saying that. He was like, "Why would you say that?" Because
Well, he
it's true.
might just say word. No, listen.
Right. I'm sure he probably felt the same way too.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
We both have strong personalities. We
Right.
both have strong personalities.
Right.
And we can be like this. But in the end, see, this is where it matters. In the end, we always have each other's back. In the end. So if stuff ain't going, like I can walk in the door even to this day. And I had a crappy day the other day. And I walked in, I wasn't. And he looked at me and he was like, "What's going on? What's wrong with you?" I was like, "I just need to be quiet. I just need to sit down. I just need to be quiet." And he watching me the whole time. "What's going on? Was your day this? Was your day that?" And that has never changed. He's always done that. There have been days that he'll walk in and I'm like, "Yeah, ain't looking good for you, brother." He's like,
Right.
you know, so I think that you have to have that. And yes, folks, there have been years where we had lack of communication. Yes.
I want to chime in on that.
Right. It made things real difficult up in this household.
It does. But I would like to chime in on that as someone. Okay, so I am no longer married as of 2016. However,
Yep.
I just need, people need to understand that relationships look different for different people.
Yes.
Sometimes we go in like when I heard that question, that's why I was like, because no relationship is without challenge.
Ooh,
nothing that is excellent is easy. And I feel like a lot of us, especially women, we have this disillusioned view of what relationships, especially marriage, is supposed to look like. It don't look the same way for everyone. Like I said, I mean, for me, I didn't mind the independence. You understand? Okay, it didn't work, but it didn't work for other reasons. We had reasons, there were reasons why it didn't work. But at the same time, I've never been, at least as an adult, of the opinion of this stereotypical view or disillusioned view of what marriage and relationships look like. And I think a lot of times, we're raised to, I tell you, Tracy Ellis said it the best. She said something about like how we're raised as women to want to grow up and be a bride. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I still believe in love, and I still feel like at some point I will marry again. Like I'm not opposed to that idea or that happening if that opportunity ever presented itself. But at the same time, I don't have this disillusioned view of someone sweeping me off my feet and just taking care of my every need, in the sense of he gonna pay every single solitary bill. I'm very independent. So, for me, I'm looking more for a partnership and something that, like you said, I mean, one of the things that I take from what you were saying is that you guys were friends. You know what I mean? That plays a large part. A lot of times we rush into things. I know with my husband, let me tell you, I kind of gave that man a hard time because I had been single for 4 years. He married me with my 5 children, but I did not want to rush into a situation because I felt like, you know what, it's easy to ride on the good feeling of it. He's smart. Still to this day, we're friends. I mean, it's no love, we're not at odds. Super talented. That's my homie. He's, good people. We're amicable toward one another. So we had that foundation, but I did not want to rush into marriage because that was something that I didn't want to find myself like well, now it's more than 10 years later. Now we've been separated now for about 6 years. But we're together almost 10. So, that's not what I wanted. But, when you are not on the same footing, which is going to happen.
Which happens.
Reinvention, as we're talking about it, reinvention is perpetual. People grow. You know that yourself, being married at 21 and then 31 hitting you, and then 41 hitting you. You like,
different.
What? Wait a minute, and so, but the thing that sustained is that you guys kind of meshed with the reinvention as it was happening. And like you said, there were times it was like, look, we are not talking. And then you think about, again, as I always say, you tapped into your motivation. Why are we married? We got married, and that's the thing. I always feel that, my marriage may not have worked, but I feel like when you're in a marriage, it's important to keep it spicy. And when I say that, I mean, do things that are spontaneous and try not to lose that very thing that made you guys want to be together to begin with. I think that sometimes we get into a place where we's married now.
Right.
No.
You gotta keep it fresh. You gotta keep it tight. You gotta look good. Yeah, I'm sorry. Oh goodness, I'm so glad you said that. It really irks me to no end when I see young married women, and maybe they've been married for about 5 or 6 years. And I know, we got the babies. We know how that first year, second year, putting on clothes is a very hard thing. But you don't stay there. You get up in the morning, even if you got to throw your hair back and a ponytail and slick it back and freshen up your face and put on a little cute little something. Do that. And not just for him, but do it for yourself too. So
it
that
makes
you'll
you feel
good. Yes, it'll make you feel good. And I've always, Carla been knowing me forever. That's just my thing. I believe in keeping my nails done. My face gonna be beat most of the time.
No, right.
Most of the time I am. But guess what? I do take care of my skin. Yes, and I take care of my skin first.
Yeah. Right.
So, so little things like that, but I don't just do it for him. I do it for myself because that's what makes me feel good. And so when I'm giving off that energy, that's very attractive to him. Exactly. And that's that spice that you're talking about. Now, I'm going to be honest. My husband is better at something you said, Liz, when you had talked about when you're getting into an argument or you're having a bad time and you have to remember why you were married. Well, my husband is way better at that than I am. Because I'll be like, what?
Yeah,
I know.
I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that.
Yeah,
we got a problem.
No, and I'm sure he, but that's sometimes that's necessary to be the one to just kind of let the other one kind of go off a little bit. Because I always think that I'm not an argumentative person. Now I am slice you and dice you very loverly but I'm not going to scream. I'm not that argument back and forth. That just is not me. I'm
going toe to toe with you.
No. Don't get it twisted. Like I said, this is my strategy.
All right.
My strategy is different because I don't like that arguing. You start saying stuff that don't matter. Yeah. You start saying stuff that, first of all, you screaming. That's killing you. That's killing cells. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to age myself because of that. But it's just, sometimes you need.
Well, you have to pick and choose your battle. You have to pick and choose your battle. Because not every single situation has to be a full-blown 45 days. Right. It just doesn't make sense. You have to
one of the things I don't, one of the things that I think too that people tend to do is they try to change people. And that is like, wait, so you entered into this relationship with something that I do or don't do or whatever, that all of a sudden becomes a problem. And I think a lot of times we really need to look at that. Again, I always say we need to clean the wax out.
But that's growth. Wax. That's growth, Liz. Because you don't come in like that, because especially depending on when you get married. In my 20s, I thought marriage looked, the lovey-dovey, and I want flowers, and we going out to dinner, and we're gonna sit down, we're gonna watch movies, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna always be hand in hand. And my husband is like, who got time to do all that?
Now wait a minute. The flowers, he could have did that. Okay.
He said flowers die. That's what he.
Well, they do, but then see, that's why I buy my own flowers. That's why I buy my own flowers. I said to somebody just last week, I bought these beautiful, like orange, peach colored Asiatic lilies. Lilies are my favorite. Mm-hmm. And so I remember one of the girls said, "Oh, Miss Liz, they're so beautiful." I said, "Yeah." I said, I buy myself flowers. I said, because if I wait for someone to buy them, I might not get to smell them.
Right. That's right.
As that sounds.
And you're okay with that. And you're okay.
Hey, I'm good. I'm good with it for now. I mean, I would hope that changes at some point.
Right. But that's what I'm saying.
Right.
I don't, but going back to what you were saying, I think that's growth though, because in my 20s, I used to consider myself a hellraiser in my 20s. All you had to do was say something, I was jumping off. I ain't caring. Look, what?
Right.
And that was also the Detroit in me too. But
I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to say that, but yeah.
So in my 30s, I was learning from my 20s, and I was learning that everything doesn't have to be an argument. And then when I got in my 40s, I was like, you know what? I'm really choosing my battles here, because I just can't spend that much energy on that. And now in my 50s, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Because if you have spent that much time with a man, you're supposed to be able to kind of know what are the trigger points, right? And then as a woman, you have to know how to maneuver through that situation so that you come out on the winning end. And excuse me, that may mean that you speak to your significant other the way you want him to speak to you. And so if you do that, you can kind of diffuse a lot of the extra, right?
Of course. Yes.
If you keep in mind that he's the man of the house, right? And that's his title. We all have roles to play. We all have roles to play in this
But you know what? Carla? You know what? let me stop you there. Because see, you old school, and see, younger women today ain't feeling that. And I'm gonna tell you,
see, I can't relate to that because I'm not in that age group. So
when you finish, I want to chime in on that. Go on, sis.
So I completely understand what you're saying on that, but because I'm not in that age group and I have a certain age group, I mean, well, to be honest, we have viewers and listeners from the age of 18 to 65 who listen to us, right? Mm-hmm. It's a situation where everyone that views YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and all those other platforms, as well as listen in on the podcast through Anchor, Google, Spotify, etc. Hopefully you're able to pick things that resonate with you so that you can take it back and apply it to your lives. We're older girls. We are not 22 years old. I can't relate to a 22-year-old. Their worlds are very different from my world. Yes, we can sit and break bread, right? And I can listen to what they're saying, but we were raised differently. We were raised differently.
But even I just kind of want to chime in on that one though still, because I always, what you're saying is like these younger girls not having that because it's more career oriented. I'm empowered, independent, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Just like my mother told me, look, our mothers were all that empowered, working outside the house, no matter what that looked like, and they were still coming in and playing that role in their house because they were every woman. Sorry. So if you're the type of young lady that you feel like, now look, my ex-husband and I, he's a chef. So we did have days that we split up that we cooked because we both cook. We cook well and love to cook, right? So no, I didn't have to cook dinner every day, but I enjoyed preparing a meal for my husband.
Right,
And if
right.
you can't get to that part, I'm not saying you got to go and be Susie Homemaker and he's sitting there and not doing nothing while the house is falling
Right,
apart.
right,
You
right,
can
right.
expect, because I guarantee you that same mindset is expecting this dude to come in and be every man and pay all the bills and da da da. So you can't expect to have a real man that's going to be a real provider in that way if you can't fill that lane and be in that lane too. Like I said, I pride myself. Yes, I'm in the boardroom. I'm in the workforce. I'm that mother, even though my children are adults now with my baby, except he's 19. He really adult. He's still my stinking grandmother and all of that. But you better know I still enjoy and will enjoy being able to, that's my household. You feel what I'm saying? Like to be
Oh,
in that role. Like
yeah.
I,
And you know what? And I assume that role at any given point in time. And
exactly.
it doesn't take away from who I am as
Thank
a
you.
person.
Thank you.
You know, it really
Right.
doesn't,
It
because
doesn't, and it's
I
not
am
supposed
I am
to.
somebody's
It's
wife.
not.
I am
Exactly.
somebody's
Exactly.
wife. I
Right.
am somebody's mother. I
That's
am
right.
somebody's grandmother. And those are titles and roles that I have. And I
Right.
play
Right.
them very well. But I'm
That's
also
right, mother.
Yolanda too. I'm also
Right.
Dr. Bennett too. You
Right.
know,
Right.
Right.
these are titles and hats that I wear, and I'm okay with every single one of them. And when it comes to my household, it's very important. And see, this is what young women don't understand. As far as I'm concerned, like Carla was saying, you know, we were raised a little differently,
Mm-hmm.
but
It wasn't that different.
it's always very important to me that the man of the house be the man of the
Please.
house.
Especially our men. I
Because
mean, it's enough
Amen.
that they have to
yeah,
go
you
out and
got to
put
be
Amen.
the man of the house.
yeah.
I don't want your role, but I'm going to
No, at
support
all.
you in
Yeah,
your
I don't
role.
want it. I don't want it because
I'm
Exactly.
I
going
got
to
enough
support
to
Yeah.
you in
do
your
with
At
role.
my
all.
role. My
At
role is
all.
a lot. I
Yes,
can't do my job and yours too.
right.
No,
And I
ma'am.
don't want to do
Even
that.
those, yeah.
And a lot of women who want to assume that role or feel that they have to assume that role, I want you to take a step back. You know, I understand we have a lot of single parents and a lot of single moms out there, and you are doing a fantastic job. Nobody's going to ever take that away from you.
At all.
But
Right.
when you come into a relationship, when you have your significant other with you, and I can only speak of men, I don't know how other relationships work together
Right.
where, you know, I can't speak on those. I can only speak on man and
Man,
woman
women. Right.
relationship.
Right.
But when you have a man that comes in your home, or you two are building a home together,
Mm-hmm.
it is your responsibility as the woman, to me, is that you make your home comfortable for everybody in the home.
Exactly.
I
I
feel
love
that's
that.
important. That's
And that,
important because
mm-hmm.
you want your man to come home and be happy. Why you want
Right.
him to be
It's
sad? Why
comfortable.
you want him to be bad? Because if he's happy, you're happy. If you're happy, he's happy. And
That's
you
right.
want to do that. It should never be, well, you know, I make money this and I make money. Okay, there were years that I made more money than my husband. Who cared? It didn't stop what we have together today. If
Exactly.
anything, it enhanced every single thing that we did
Right.
together. And so we don't sweat that kind of stuff. You
That's
know,
beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm not a Susie homemaker, so to
No,
speak.
that's not, yeah. We're not
I'm
saying
not that
that. But I
person.
mean,
My husband loves to do laundry. I hate it. I absolutely hate
it's
laundry.
not,
But
that's
this man
actually
will do, he thinks
not
it's
something.
therapeutic. I don't know
Right.
why it's
I
All
therapeutic.
right. God
was
bless him.
I
But
was
I'm
gonna
not.
say the
I don't
same
think it's
thing.
therapeutic.
No,
Okay.
I was
Thank you.
going to say the same thing. Let me tell you, when my children were little, let me tell you, the laundromat or being in my mother's house in the, because I didn't have a unit in my place. Actually, I did once, but oh my God, it was therapeutic. That was like my time.
Yeah.
And
See, I
that was
can't.
the
No, ma'am.
easiest chore to get my children to help with when they were little. That was the easiest
Mm.
chore. To this day, my kids do not leave the laundromat when they go without folding their clothes. Let me tell you, that was the easiest chore. But I wanted to
God
chime in on
love you.
something else.
God love you.
I wanted, girl, let me tell you, because I don't play that dirty clothes stuff. Anyway, I wanted to chime in on the single mother, the single parent.
We're gonna have to come back and have
Oh
a
God, it's
part
almost time
3
to go.
because we have
Wow.
completely strayed away from the topic, but I have to.
We
I
always
have
do.
to. I
Yeah,
have to
Danny.
give you guys this. I have a ton of questions here, but
Okay,
there's
okay,
one
fire
here
'em
that
off.
we are
Go ahead.
going to
Okay.
address before we end this podcast.
Okay.
This question is from Margie. Margie is from Milwaukee. Shout out to Margie in Milwaukee. Margie said that she's dating a married man. Now, we were supposed to be talking about something completely different, but no matter what the topic is, I
ain't gonna judge right now.
Look, I'm not judging. This is what. Look,
Margie says that she's been dating a married man. Well, maybe this is 3 years, 3 to 4 years, and she does. Okay, let me start over because it's a lot. Margie's been dating a married man for 3 to 4 years. She doesn't understand why he won't leave his wife. And
this is a covenant breaker. What?
Let me finish. She doesn't understand why he won't leave his wife. And what suggestions do we have for her so that she can win the heart of her married?
Let me just say this before you say something, Liz. Girl, we ain't gonna never side with no side piece. Now I'm gonna just tell you that now. We'll never go side with no side piece. Girl, get yourself out of that situation. That man is not going to leave his wife.
He's not gonna leave, boo. He's not gonna leave. He's not leaving his wife. He's not leaving his wife. He's not.
He doesn't have to.
He doesn't.
Because he got you.
He's not leaving his wife.
Yeah. And
you
know, again, like I said, we had a similar question. On the surface, we could say side chicks we don't side with. Mike, I keep going back to this. Why would you want to be with somebody that is distrustful? He is honoring his vows. It has not. I don't even look. You want to do that? Some women like that because there's no look. There's some guys like that because there's no commitment. It's hit and run. Pardon the pun. But why would you expect anything honorable to come out of a lie
from a man? That's right.
I'm stupefied. Like, how would you think? Why would you even want him? Why? I'm confused.
Because she loves him. Because she has put herself in a situation where she has fallen in love with him. That's why she's there.
We will pray for you, my darling, that you understand that you deserve better than that.
Yeah,
much better than that.
You are not. You should never want to be a side chick.
She don't want to be a side chick. She want him to leave his wife.
But you still the side chick.
You want so much more for yourself. You want so much more.
He's not going to leave his wife. He doesn't have to leave his wife.
Available men out here that I'm sure would be more than happy to be in a relationship with you. But you are chasing your tail because this married man is not going to leave his wife. He's not. He's not
because he doesn't have to.
The question is, do you really want that for yourself? Because if he's doing it to his wife, why do you think that he wouldn't do it to you?
Right.
He's probably already doing it to you, sis. Like, really.
He doesn't have to. I'm going to keep saying he's there. He won't leave his wife because he doesn't have to, because he has you. So he can have both women. He has you and he has the wife. And guess what? I bet you that wife know about you.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that. She
just ain't came out yet. Don't.
And again, and that's dangerous.
It's dangerous.
It's
dangerous.
Don't you got a whole lot of Detroit/Chicago coming out. I see the mannerism. The mannerisms have gotten a little rough now. What's really happening?
Oh wait, I got to bring it back to Dr. Bennett.
Yeah,
let me bring it back.
She's swaying. Is she moving her shoulders back and forth? What's going on, ladies? What's going on?
Yeah,
what's going on?
That topic is just. I just don't. It's old. As a woman, don't put yourself in that situation.
No, and my
don't
thing is
lower
this,
you.
Right. And let's be realistic. Let's for a second be very realistic.
Okay, go ahead, Liz.
Marriages fail for whatever reason, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But you never want to engage in a relationship with someone who may have just gotten separated, just gotten, especially the just getting separated. You understand what I'm saying? Because you never know. You have to give people like that time to process and heal. And there are people oftentimes that'll go run right back into, run into another relationship when their marriages are on the rocks. But at the same time,
yeah, but those folks are people who were seeing other people during their marriages, because there is no way that you can be in a relationship for years, pack your bags, and you down the street with Ray Ray. I don't understand that.
She always comes because treating Ray Ray real bad. Whatever Ray Ray is, Ray Ray always get
well, I'm just, it could be John, it could be Paul. I mean, everybody know Ray Ray. I'm just saying.
I'm telling you, poor
everybody know Ray Ray. I know I did. So
even it again, on the surface, it could seem that way. I just think, like I said, anyone that is knowingly married and pursuing other people, or because again, I'm going to be as translucent and transparent as I can. I met someone when I was married that just in the course of life, the energy was incredible. And guess what?
Keep it real.
We purposely stayed away from each other because, again, we're human beings, especially when you've been married. And to be honest with you, at the time, I was happily married. I was not at a point where, it just, we were in each other's kind of cipher, and there was some strong energy, but I was married and he was with somebody. And the mature adult thing that we did was stayed the hell away from each other. There was no boo love, we're friend conversations.
Right.
Now, I want to say probably 8 years after we actually met, we had an opportunity to go out on a couple of dates. I mean, we were at that time single. And what that did for me, two things it did for me. It allowed us to get to know each other a little bit better. But there was already a measure of trust, because once we realized, you kind of attractive and I, and there was this deep attraction, we purposely did not want to jeopardize our existing relationships. Because that's the thing. If we're human beings, who's to say we're not going to be in a situation where we meet somebody that there's some energy? We're spirits.
But that happens. That's going to happen because you are human.
Right.
That's going to happen. I think
how do you react to it? How
you don't act on that.
But some people, this is what they'll do. They'll say, "Oh, but we're just friends, or we're just working together." And you have this emotional connection, which to me is worse than cheating, right? Because you have this bond, and it's inappropriate. It's just totally inappropriate.
But you know what, my husband always says, because we've talked about that throughout our marriage, and the one thing he would always say, he's like, I'm not putting myself in situations where I'm going to be around a whole lot of women. He was like, I'm a man. Of course, I'm going to see what I like, but I'm not going to put myself in a situation where, I'm put face to face, because he's like, temptation is very real. So why would I put myself in that situation knowing that could turn on? It could turn at any given point in time.
And, for all you women out there,
because you ain't friends.
Hilarious. And granted, that's not to say that he may not have people that are friends, that are homegirls forever and a day, but they're not calling him every day, and y'all can all be around each other, and there's no funky underlying underfeeling.
Right.
But even when you think of, like, I can hear, there was something I was about to bring up, it kind of flew out of my head, about these emotional connections with people that you can tell when there's something more to it than someone just said, "Oh, they're just my friend." And